Ben Farrell is CEO of the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply. Great to have you on the programme. Let's start by talking about the impact that this prolonged cyber attack has had, not just on JLR, but on its supply chain. Lots of small businesses being hit hard, right?
Yes, there are. And I think it's worth just describing a little bit of the context. For JLR, as an organisation, employs 34,000 people in the UK across the 3 plants that are impacted. But the wider supply chain base, or the supply base in the UK, there are about 120,000 people, and obviously dozens and dozens, approximately 700 different businesses that have been impacted. And this is showing up, as you could imagine, in lots of different ways, given that they haven't actually manufactured what would have otherwise been typically 1,000 vehicles per day routinely. So since the 1st of September, that hasn't happened. And having visited their plants, I can tell you that it's incredibly precise in terms of the manufacturing operations. It's not that they can, park up spares and have a big warehouse waiting for just such an occasion like this. It's actually, almost minute by minute how it's all brought together and manufactured. So it's been a really profound impact, and about, I think, as your reporter mentioned there, 50 to 70 million pounds hit on them per week.
Wow.
As an organisation, on top of the impact that you'll have perhaps noted earlier this year with the tariffs. And I saw that their sales had dropped about 11% in July on the back of the uncertainty around tariffs. So hard yards for JLR and their supply chain this year.
Well, the UK government is guaranteeing around $2 billion in a loan. Some are calling it a bailout. Is what you're talking about, the size of this and the size of the supply chain, the reason why maybe it's too big to fail?
Well, I think in a way that it sort of almost sounds slightly derogatory that it would be a bailout, but it's entirely, in my view, a pragmatic position. There's a great deal of people employed in what is actually a very prestigious manufacturer in the United Kingdom, the UK's biggest automotive manufacturer of prestige vehicles, and clearly that the government will want to intervene to protect that, vital economic supply base, particularly, in areas like the West Midlands, where an awful lot of people are employed there. So, they've intervened pretty swiftly in order to provide JLR with a mechanism to sustain its supply base as it sort of gets going again. But clearly there are some lessons to be learned in terms of, cyber resilience and that type of thing as we go forward.
Well, you talk about that cyber resilience. Jaguar Land Rover, not the only British firm to be hit by these cyber attacks, to be thwarted by them. Harrods, Co-op, Marks and Spencer. So what can companies do to bolster themselves, to make them impenetrable?
Well, I've seen a number of things this year, not just in the UK, but wider across the globe, where the advances in AI have allowed more and more manufacturers to truly understand the breadth and depth of their supply chain. So my advice is really get to grips with what your supply chain looks like, in the sense of not just the physical supply chain, but people who are providing goods and services in some digital way to you, because typically these large organisations aren't necessarily being attacked themselves, but people are finding routes into them through their suppliers. So you've got to look at this in the round and start really protecting yourself. And of course, this is almost a constant battle, in as much as as soon as you've got a protective measure, there's somebody who's invented a way to get round it. So it is almost a new paradigm. We're living in a different world. The tectonic plates of global trade have shifted. The nature of trading in the digital world on a different approach. And I think that is, really the big lesson. And it's not that new as a lesson, I have to say, that's emerging, recently. It's not that we're having a new conversation about cyber risk, really, is it? It's actually about people being really diligent and understanding their environment and protecting it properly.
I was going to that fast-changing environment, because I was going to say, Ben, we've been talking about cyber resilience for nearly 20 years. Ben Farrell, CEO of the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply, thank you.